August 1st, 1966, University of Texas at Austin. Charles Whitman was 25 years old, a former Marine, an engineering student. Before sunrise, he killed his mother in her apartment. Then he drove home and killed his wife while she slept. He left notes at both locations, asking that his brain be examined after death because he couldn't understand what was driving him. Hours later, he arrived on campus with a footlocker. Inside were guns, ammunition, food, water. He took the elevator to the 27th floor of the main building tower, then climbed to the observation deck. At 11:48 in the morning, he started firing at people below. His military training showed long-distance accuracy, targets dropping across a wide radius. People scattered. Police couldn't get clear shots. Armed civilians joined the firefight from ground level. For 96 minutes, the campus was a war zone. 14 people died during the tower attack. 31 others were wounded. One victim who survived that day died from her injuries in 2001, bringing the final toll to 17, counting his mother and wife. Officers Ramiro Martinez and Houston McCoy finally reached the observation deck just after 1 in the afternoon and shot him. The Austin shooting changed American law enforcement forever. It directly led to the creation of the first SWAT teams in the country. April 20th, 1999, Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. Eric Harris was 18. Dylan Klebold was 17. They'd spent over a year planning something far bigger than what actually happened. 2 propane bombs in the cafeteria, timed to detonate during the lunch rush. The plan was massive casualties, then shooting survivors as they fled. The bombs didn't work, so Harris and Klebold grabbed more guns from their cars and approached on foot. They opened fire outside the west entrance, killing 2 students, then entered the building. The library became the center of the massacre. Over 49 minutes, they killed 12 students and 1 teacher, Dave Sanders, who died trying to get kids to safety. 21 others were injured. They moved through different areas before returning to the library and turning their guns on themselves. Investigators recovered journals, videos, written plans. Both had been in court, ordered anger management after a vehicle break and arrest. What makes Columbine different isn't just the body count. It became the template, the cultural reference point. It reshaped how schools think about security, how police respond to active shooters, and how future attackers would model their own violence. April 16th, 2007, Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. Sang-Hoi Cho was 23. He started in a dormitory at 7:15 in the morning, shooting 2 students in a dorm room. Campus police treated it as a domestic incident. They didn't lock down the campus. Over 2 hours passed. At 9:40, Cho entered Norris Hall, an engineering building. He chained the doors from inside, trapping everyone. 2 handguns, over 400 rounds of ammunition. He went classroom to classroom on the 2nd floor. Methodical, efficient. He killed 30 people in Norris Hall in roughly 10 minutes before police breached the building and he ended his life. Between the attacks, he'd mailed a package to NBC News. Videos, photos, a written manifesto. The network aired it 2 days later. 32 dead total, 17 wounded. Faculty members had flagged Cho as concerning. A Virginia court ordered a mental health evaluation in 2005 after a judge ruled him a danger to himself. But that information never made it into the federal background check system. He legally bought both guns. Virginia Tech forced immediate changes to how mental health records get reported for firearm purchases. It remains the deadliest school shooting by a single person in American history. December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. Adam Lanza was 20 years old. He killed his mother Nancy at home while she slept, then took her car to the school where she'd sometimes volunteered. 3 guns. He shot through the locked glass entrance at 9:35 in the morning and went directly to 2 first-grade classrooms. 20 children between 6 and 7 years old, 6 adults, including Principal Dawn Hochsprung and school psychologist Mary Sherlock, both shot in the hallway as they moved toward the gunfire. The entire attack lasted under 5 minutes. When officers entered, Lanza shot himself. Not one of the 20 children survived. Investigators found he'd obsessively documented previous mass shootings, detailed records, a history of severe mental health struggles, and years of isolation. The school was torn down and rebuilt. Sandy Hook triggered the biggest national gun debate since Columbine, but no federal legislation passed. 26 killed at the school, second deadliest in American history, behind only Virginia Tech. But there's one shooting that's different from all of these, one that changed what people thought was even possible. May 24th, 2022, Uvalde, Texas. Robb Elementary School. Salvador Ramos was 18. He started at home, shooting and wounding his grandmother, then drove to the school. His truck crashed into a ditch near campus. He exchanged fire with 2 officers approaching and entered through an unlocked rear door at 11:33 in the morning. He went into two connected fourth-grade classrooms and barricaded himself. For the next hour and 17 minutes, he fired continuously. Officers from multiple agencies gathered in the hallway outside within minutes of him entering, but they didn't attempt to breach. The commander on scene made a call. He believed it was a barricade situation, not an active shooter. He chose to wait. At 12:50 in the afternoon, officers finally breached the classroom and killed Ramos. 19 students, aged 9 and 10, two teachers, Eva Mireles and Irma Garcia, 17 others wounded. The Texas Department of Public Safety later stated outright that the decision to hold back was the wrong decision. Independent investigations confirmed officers had the capability to breach far sooner. 19 officers and officials tied to the response were later suspended or disciplined. Uvalde became the deadliest school shooting in Texas history. But there's something worse than the shooting itself: the failure to act when action was possible. February 14th, 2018, Parkland, Florida. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Nicholas Cruz was 19. He'd been expelled the year before for behavioral violations. He arrived by rideshare carrying an AR-15 style rifle, loaded magazines, and a backpack. At 2:21 in the afternoon, he entered Building 12 and began shooting on the first floor. He moved to the second floor, then the third, firing into classrooms and hallways. The attack lasted 6 minutes. He dropped the rifle on the third floor and walked out, blending into the evacuating students. Officers identified him using surveillance footage and arrested him an hour later. 17 killed, 17 wounded. Deadliest high school shooting in American history. 14 students, 3 staff members. Survivors from the school organized the March for Our Lives movement, one of the largest youth-led demonstrations the country had seen. Hundreds of thousands participated nationwide. Cruz pleaded guilty in 2021 to all 34 charges. During the penalty phase in 2022, the jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict on the death penalty. He was sentenced to life without parole. The Broward County Sheriff's Office faced intense scrutiny when it came out that the school resource officer had stayed outside the building throughout the entire attack. November 30th, 2021, Oxford, Michigan. Oxford High School. Ethan Crumbley was 15. He pulled out a 9mm handgun in the hallway and opened fire. His father, James, had purchased the gun 4 days earlier. Ethan asked for it as a Christmas gift and went to a shooting range with his father the day after buying it. That same morning, school officials called Ethan's parents in after finding a drawing on his desk. A gun, a bleeding figure, and the words, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." His parents refused to take him home. Hours later, he opened fire. 4 students killed. Hannah Street Juliana, 14. Tate Meyer, 16. Madison Baldwin, 17. Justin Schilling, 17. 7 others injured. Ethan surrendered without resistance. Prosecutors took an unprecedented step. They charged both parents with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter each, holding them responsible for ignoring warning signs and providing access to the firearm. James and Jennifer Crumbley were convicted at separate trials in 2024, each sentenced to 10 to 15 years. Ethan pleaded guilty to terrorism and murder charges and received life without parole, making him the youngest person in Michigan history to receive that sentence. The pattern repeats. Different names, different schools, different years, but the mechanics stay the same. Access to weapons, warning signs ignored, lives ended in minutes. May 18th, 2018, Santa Fe, Texas, Santa Fe High School. Demetrios Pagurtzis was 17. He wore a trench coat to school that morning despite warm weather. He'd worn it every day for weeks. Classmates remembered that later. Inside the coat, he carried a shotgun and a .38 caliber revolver, both taken from his father. Shortly after 7:30 in the morning, he walked into first period art class and opened fire. The attack lasted roughly 30 minutes as he moved through the school, targeting students and teachers across multiple rooms. By the time officers arrived and engaged him, 10 people were dead, 8 students, 2 teachers, 13 others wounded. Investigators discovered afterward that Pagurtzis had deliberately spared certain students. He told police later he liked them and didn't want to kill them. He surrendered without incident. Officers also found pipe bombs and pressure cooker devices planted around campus. None detonated. Pagurtzis was charged with capital murder and attempted capital murder. Due to ongoing mental competency concerns, he was ruled incompetent to stand trial and has been held in a maximum security mental health facility since. Santa Fe became the deadliest school shooting in Texas history until Uvalde surpassed it 4 years later. March 21st, 2005, Red Lake, Minnesota. Red Lake Indian Reservation. Jeff Weiss was 16. He began at home that afternoon, shooting and killing his grandfather, Darrell Lussier, a tribal police officer, and Lussier's companion, Missy Dode. He took his grandfather's police vehicle and 2 firearms, then drove to Red Lake Senior High School where he'd been a student. At the entrance, he shot and killed unarmed security guard Derek Brune, 28. He moved through the school, firing at students and staff in hallways and classrooms. Inside, he killed teacher Neva Rogers, 62, and 5 students. A 6th student survived a gunshot wound to the head. When police arrived and exchanged fire with Wise in a vacant classroom, he turned the weapon on himself. 10 killed total, including Wise. 5 wounded. At the time, it was the deadliest school shooting in the United States since Columbine. Investigators found Wise had posted messages on neo-Nazi websites in the weeks prior. He'd written short stories and animations depicting school shootings. A history of mental health issues. He'd been placed on an increased dosage of Prozac in the months before the attack. Fellow students recalled years of bullying. The Red Lake tribal community held private funeral services and later established a trust fund for survivors and families of those killed. February 14th, 2008, DeKalb, Illinois, Northern Illinois University. Stephen Kazmierczak was 27. He walked onto the stage of a large oceanography lecture hall in Cole Hall, while approximately 160 students were in the middle of class. He stepped out from behind the stage curtain at 3:05 in the afternoon, carrying a Remington 12-gauge shotgun and 3 handguns. Without warning, he opened fire on the packed auditorium. Students dove under seats, rushed for exits. Kazmierczak moved across the stage, continuing to fire into the crowd. The attack lasted roughly 2 minutes. 5 students killed: Catalina Garcia, 20, Juliana Gayhunt, 32, Gail Dubowski, 20, Ryan Mace, 19, Daniel Parmenter, 20. 21 others wounded. Kazmierczak turned the shotgun on himself as officers arrived. He'd previously been regarded as a model student by former professors and associates. Academic awards, work at a correctional facility. In the months before the shooting, those close to him noticed he'd stopped taking psychiatric medication and had become increasingly erratic. He'd recently ended a long-term relationship. No clear motive was ever established. Northern Illinois University canceled classes for a week and conducted a campus-wide memorial service. Cole Hall was later demolished and replaced. The shooting prompted a review of Illinois state law on firearm purchases and mental health reporting requirements. October 1st, 2015, Roseburg, Oregon, Umpqua Community College. Christopher Harper Mercer was 26. He entered a writing class in Snyder Hall carrying 6 firearms, wearing a flak jacket, additional magazines loaded. At 10:38 in the morning, he shot and killed the instructor, Lawrence Levine, 67. He ordered students to get on the ground, asked them to state their religion, then opened fire. Witnesses reported he told students who identified as Christian they would see God in 1 second before shooting them, though victims weren't exclusively targeted based on religion. 9 killed, 9 wounded. Victims ranged from 18 to 67 years old. When Douglas County Sheriff's deputies arrived and exchanged gunfire with Harper Mercer in the hallway outside the classroom, he was wounded. He ended his own life. Investigators found 13 firearms connected to the shooting, all legally purchased by Harper Mercer or family members. No prior criminal record. Online activity showed documented interest in previous mass shootings. He'd posted a message on an internet forum the night before, expressing admiration for other attackers. History of mental health issues. He'd briefly attended a school for students with emotional and behavioral disorders. The campus closed for 2 weeks before resuming classes. The attack remains the deadliest mass shooting in Oregon history.